Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Yamuna Tira Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhattavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada ki, Shri Vijay Gauranga Nitai ki, Transcendental Diary ki, Shri Caitanya Caritamrita ki. Von der Seite. September der 4. 1976. Ja. Und dann so der zweite Teil davon nach den 3 Sternen, da sind so 3 kleine Sterne auf der Seite, nach dem Anfang von diesem Tag. Later in the morning, Harikesh Swami. Yeah. Okay, so reading from Transcendental Diary, chapter entitled Sri Vrindavan Dham, September the 4th, 1976. Excuse me. Later in the morning, Harikesh Swami and I sat with Srila Prabhupada in his darshan room. So this obviously is Harisari Prabhu speaking. He was discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 3, 25, 21. Harikesh read out. Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Ajata Satrava Shanta Sadava Sadhu Bhushanam. Quote, the symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Unquote. Prabhupada smiled in satisfaction. This is sadhu, not the dress, he said. Then he had Harikesh read out his lengthy purport. Towards the end of it, Prabhupada interrupted him. We could hear a loud banging and hammering coming from the vicinity of the guest house, and Prabhupada asked what was going on. We explained that some alterations were being made in the front lounge area to facilitate the preaching. Prabhupada wasn't impressed and complained about our propensity to always change things. Quote, they manufacture ideas and spend money. This is the difficulty. Everyone manufactures some idea. Shri Vijay Gauranga Nitai ki. Everyone manufactures some idea and break it, do it, dig it. Money is coming and they are spending it. They cannot adjust whatever is there. Big, big ideas, big, big belly, and money we have to bring from America. Give me 1 lakh, give me 1,50,000. I make idea, you pay. So many rooms you can make showroom. Why breaking this door, breaking that door? Too many cooks spoils the broth, and repairing and what is called addition, alteration, will never stop. I do not know how to stop it. Unquote. He started to laugh. Good. Now, yesterday, that Bisan Chandra said, suggesting there should be rack 3 feet high. Should be rack 3 feet high, 7 feet high, this high. Everyone will suggest and spend money. Any friend you bring him, he'll suggest so that you may spend it. And where from money will come? Oh, that is your look after. I am your friend. I am giving you good suggestion. Break it, do it. I am your friend. You break your head. Unquote. His smile broadened as he told us a story. Quote, there was a Mohammedan king, Nizamuddin. Nizamuddin, there is a tomb in Delhi. He was a poet. So if some friends come, he would read some writing and he will suggest, the friend will suggest, why don't you make it like this? Oh, it is good. All right, he'll do it. Whatever he says, and when he goes away, then again he makes his own. So the secretary said, why are you changing? What can I do? That is my friend, and that is nonsense. Therefore, I am again doing what I wrote. So we have to do that. As soon as you call anybody, he'll give you some suggestion. Make this alteration, make this alteration. Prabhupada shook his head with good-humored resignation and resumed our discussion on the Bhagavatam. I'll just read a little bit more to finish this point. Quote, so the description of the sadhu is there. It is very nice. Where they will find this description all over the world. Complimenting Prabhupada, Harikesh said, I think there's only one person who's following that description. But Prabhupada had different mood. He humbly appreciated the words of the Shastra. No, I say about Bhagavata's description, how perfect it is in every subject matter. Unquote. And he provided a revealing insight into the source of his own words in the purport. I have tried to explain what is there in the Bhagavatam, expand it. That is not my explanation, that is Krishna's explanation. I cannot explain now. At that moment I can explain. That means Krishna's. I can understand that the description is there nicely given. Although it is my writing, but I know it is not my writing. It is Krishna's writing. So we should read Bhagavatam always. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We should not waste our time. Unquote. This was not the first time that Prabhupada had said that when he writes, he is simply acting as a mouthpiece for Krishna. His words and humility today merely emphasized his roles in transparent via media between between us and Krishna, and gave us another glimpse into the intimacy of his relationship with the Lord. So, Srila Prabhupada was not impressed that they were making some change in the temple. It's quite interesting. He said it wasn't necessary for them to break that wall and to make that alteration, to make that adjustment. Just keep it the way it is, keep it simple. He felt like it was an unnecessary endeavor, like an over endeavor to make this preaching room. So it's a very interesting instruction by Prabhupada, because sometimes we want to change things and expand and do something for preaching, and it would seem like it's the right thing to do. But in this situation, Prabhupada was personally there, so he was able to give that personal guidance that actually, even though this is for preaching, it's not really a good idea. Rather, don't waste your time and your money on something like that. So very, very interesting. And this shows the importance of a spiritual master. And so we need to also take guidance from our spiritual master, who may be present with us now as a representative of Srila Prabhupada. So the same principle applies, although we don't have Srila Prabhupada here to tell us this idea is good, that idea is good, or whatever. But we have all these representatives. So we need to take the same principle and ask for guidance in that way. Although I'm sure that back in 1976, not every temple president or every devotee could ask Srila Prabhupada for direct guidance on every single thing as well, right? Can't really bother the spiritual master with all these little details. You have to also take initiative and make decisions by ourselves. But in principle, we can learn from this that it's not always necessary to spend money and make changes. Sometimes we can just keep things the way they are. Right. Let us now read from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. We're reading from the Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 121. And then I'll read a few more verses until the purport. Yes. Okay. Please repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Vedanta Shravanae Sanyasira Dharma
Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma,
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana,
Vedanta Shravanae Sanyasira Dharma
Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma,
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana,
Vedanta Shravanae Sanyasira Dharma
Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma,
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana, Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma, Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana,
Vedantara Shravan Eva Sanyasira Dharma
Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma,
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana, Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma, Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana,
Vedanta Shravana Sanyasira Dharma
Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma,
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana
Nirantara Karatumi Vedanta Shravana,
Jeez.
Vedanta Shravanae, Sannyasina Dharma, Nirantara Shravana is Sanyasira Dharma. Nirantara Karatu Vedanta Shravana.
Okay, word for word. Vedanta Shravana.
Vedanta Shravana.
Hearing of the Vedanta philosophy.
Hearing of Vedanta philosophy.
A. This Sanyasira of a person in the renounced order.
Person in the renounced honor.
Dharma, factual occupation.
Actual occupation.
Nirantara, incessantly. Kara, do. To me, you. Vedanta, of Vedanta philosophy. Shravana, hearing. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Bhattacharya said, hearing the Vedanta philosophy is a sannyasi's main business. Therefore, without hesitation, you should study Vedanta philosophy, hearing it without cessation from a superior person. Text 122. Prabhu kahe more tomi kara anugraha se kartavya tumi ye more kaha. We'll just, I know Bengali is really nice to chant. But we usually just do one and then okay. Who said it? Someone said devotees will learn Bengali just to recite the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's so beautiful. Lord Chaitanya replied, "You are very merciful to me, and therefore I think it is my duty to obey your order." Text 123. Satadina pariyanta aiche kadena shravane balamanda kahe vasimatra sune. Thus, for 7 days continuously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu listened to the Vedanta philosophy expounded by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not say anything and did not indicate whether it was right or wrong. He simply sat there and listened to the Bhattacharya. Text 124. Astama divase tanre puche sarvabhauma satadina kala tumi vedanta shavana. On the 8th day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "You have been listening to the Vedanta philosophy from me continuously for 7 days." Text 125. Balamanda nahi kaha raha maunadari bujha ki na bujha iha bujhite na pari. You have simply been listening, fixed in your silence. Since you do not say whether you think it is right or wrong, I cannot know whether you are actually understanding Vedanta philosophy or not. Text 126. Prabhu kahe murka amina he avjada ajayana tomara ajina matra karye shavana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "I am a fool, and consequently I do not study Vedanta Sutra. I am just trying to hear it from you, because you have ordered me." Text 127. Sanyasira dharma lagi shravana machakari tumiye artha kada puchite na pari. Only for the sake of executing the duties of the renounced order of sannyas do I listen. Unfortunately, I cannot in the least understand the meaning you are presenting. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented himself as if he were a sannyasi in name only. In other words, a number one fool. Mayavadi sannyasis in India are very accustomed to declaring themselves Jagat Gurus, teachers of the world. although they have no information of the outside world and are limited in their experience to a small town or village, or perhaps to the country of India. Nor do such sannyasis have sufficient education. Unfortunately, at the present moment, there are many foolish sannyasis, both in India and elsewhere, who simply read and study Vedic literature without understanding the purports. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was having his discussion with the Chand Kazi, the Mohammedan magistrate of Navadvip, he recited a verse from Vedic literature to the effect that the order of sannyas is prohibited in this age of Kali. Only those who are very serious and who follow the regulative principles and study Vedic literature should accept sannyas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved of a sannyasi's reading Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra, but he did not approve of Sariraka commentary of Shankaracharya. Indeed, he said elsewhere, Mayavadi Bhasya Sunilehaya Sarvanasa. If one hears the Sarika Bhasya of Shankaracharya, he is doomed. Thus, a sannyasi, a transcendentalist, must read Vedanta Sutra regularly, but he should not read the Sariraka Bhasya. This is the conclusion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The real commentary on Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. Artoyam Brahma Sutranam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the original commentary on Vedanta Sutra, written by the author himself, Sri Vyasadeva. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swapadantikam Panchakarpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I thought I could discuss three topics. One is the Srimad Bhagavatam is the original commentary to the Vedanta Sutra and what that means for us. Number two, that the sannyasis are transcendentalists. And number three, fake spiritualism. So the original commentary to Srimad Bhagavatam, to Vedanta Sutra, which sutras are very, very small statements that contain a lot of information, like a zip file, which has 20,000 gigabytes in it. So the actual commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. And what does Srimad Bhagavatam say? What is the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam? The Paribhasa Sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam is Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 28, which gives the summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that verse. So that verse is Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Jari Vakulam Lokam Vidayanti Yuge Yuge. Yeah. Okay. Of all the above mentioned incarnations, all of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the atheists. So this means Srimad Bhagavatam is about Krishna. That Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that by all the Vedas he is to be known. And so the entire body of Vedic literature, with its Vedic sciences on Ayurveda and fighting Veda, military Vedas, all the information is there in the Vedas. Veda means knowledge, complete knowledge. But everything is there to actually help us understand Krishna. Even the things that are in the Vedas about worshipping the demigods. There's various rituals. There's things that facilitates for people to eat meat. If you want to eat meat, you must eat in this way. You must get a black goat on the full moon night and slaughter it and chant a mantra in the ear. That you various things, but it's all designed to bring us to Krishna. So there's a place for every person in the Vedas. But what's important is that the Vedas are read under the guidance of the spiritual master, because that spiritual master can then guide that person who's reading to Krishna. So to know Krishna, how can we know Krishna? Basically, Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is 90% association. So there's the principle of chanting through association, and then the Vedas also involve association. Through the Vedas, through the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, which is the commentary in the Vedanta Sutra, we associate with Krishna. So the descriptions are there of Krishna's pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Krishna is not different from his pastimes, and Krishna is not different from his holy name, and that way we associate with Krishna through the Vedas. So that's important to understand as well in that way. When Lord Caitanya approached his spiritual master after getting initiation, Ishwara Puri, and he asked him, "What should I do? Should I study the Vedanta, or what should I do?" Because generally, this was the practice of the sannyasis. They study Vedanta. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ishwara Puri, and Ishwara Puri said at that point, "Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Alone nasti eva, nasti eva, nasti eva gatiranyata." There's no other way than chanting the holy name. Then Lord Chaitanya went and chanted the Hare Krishna mantra. And then he immediately experienced all ecstatic symptoms. And it was like a shocking experience for him, because immediately he was just exploding with ecstatic symptoms, shooting out water from his eyes and so forth. So he went back to Ishwara Puri and he said, what type of mantra have you given me? What is this practice that you've told me to do? And he explained to him what happened, and Ishwara Puri just said, "You've laughed," and he said, "You've perfected the art of chanting." Of course. But yeah, so how we know Krishna, how we get to know Krishna is by associating with Krishna. And that's the reason why there's no other way than chanting the holy name, is because the Lord is not different from his holy name. Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar Nama Haite Hayasa Jagat Nishta. In this age of Kali, the Lord has appeared in the form of the holy name. Anyone who chants the name associates with him directly and is certainly delivered. Yeah. So the one part of the Vedic scriptures is association, that we get Krishna's association to the pastimes. The other part is that the Vedic scriptures give us a process to follow. And this process of purification, like Prabhupada said, when you chant the holy name, then you cleanse the mirror of the mind, and then you can see your true reflection, so to speak. So then you experience your true qualities of the soul, which is that we are Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas. We are actually servants of Krishna eternally. So that purificatory process results in us serving Krishna and us understanding Krishna and knowing Krishna, because that's our original constitutional position, to serve Krishna like that. So this is what it means that Srimad Bhagavatam is the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra. Association with Krishna and purification of the heart and service to Krishna. Then Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that a sannyasi is a transcendentalist. And I've heard that Srila Prabhupada said that even the householders can be as good as sannyasis because of this principle that they're on the transcendental platform. Of course, sannyasis take vows to use their body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna. So that's kind of next level. And to take a vow for that you're going to use everything in Krishna's service. Because obviously sannyasi means the renounced order. So being renounced means using things in Krishna's service. There's a false renunciation or a false concept of renunciation that I'm giving things up. Because you can't give anything up because we don't have anything to give up. Nothing actually belongs to us. Of course, we think things belong to us. You know, if I had to give my car to someone now, I'd be feeling like, oh, very renounced. You know, naturally, because I think it belongs to me. So it's very like transcendental concept that nothing belongs to us. But anyway, that's the reality of the situation. Right? Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwara. Suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shanti vichati. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, I am one who knows me to be the proprietor of all the worlds, the Lord of all the demigods, the enjoyer of all the sacrifices, and the well-wishing friend of everyone, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So Krishna owns everything. He's the proprietor of all the worlds, not us. We think we are proprietors and enjoyers and so on and so forth. But this gives us also misery, you know, because it's illusion, and we can't, and we have to become detached from everything ultimately. You know, a fear of death is there. Why? Because we're so attached to things. You know, we think I'm going to lose so much when I die. So yeah, so being renounced doesn't mean necessarily giving something up, but it means using things in Krishna's service, like Srila Prabhupada did. You know, he didn't give things up necessarily. He had cars and properties and facilities, all sorts of things he had. But he used it all in Krishna's service. He's completely renounced, like that. And the sannyasis of today, Prabhupada's disciples, are in the same way. They have some facilities, but they're using everything in Krishna's service because their consciousness is advanced. They are in Krishna consciousness, so they see everything in relation to Krishna, and they use everything for Krishna's pleasure. They don't use it for their own sense gratification. They're not attached to their sense gratification. They're attached to serving Krishna. So renunciation just means changing the attachment, becoming very attached to serving Krishna, and using as many things as possible in the service of Krishna. The devotee might even seem greedy because he wants something particular, but he wants it for Krishna's service. So it might look the same, but it's totally different because the consciousness is different. Like that. So yeah, sannyasi takes a vow for that, and grihastas don't take those vows. But a grihasta can be on that level of serving Krishna. And we have examples of that as well. We have grihasta gurus like Mahatma Prabhu, and also others that are not so famous, like Her Grace Uttama Prabhu, Uttama Mataji, and her husband, His Grace Partha Prabhu. They're from the Grihasta Vision team, and they do mentoring of married couples and pre-marital counseling and that type of thing. That's their service to Krishna. They actually do such an amazing job, and they have a very important, one of the things they do, which is very important, is that they're helping to change the paradigm with regards to grihastas. That being married is Maya, is a wrong paradigm that somehow is there in our movement to some degree from the early days. That being married is Maya, and it's a fall down from brahmachari to become married. Now you've fallen down because you want to get married. You have this concept. It's important to change that and understand that marriage is actually a very important part of the movement, that we need to learn how to do it properly. So they're helping by doing counseling and mentoring and so forth, and they're helping devotees to have successful marriages, and that's very important as a part of our service to Krishna on so many levels. For one, it's a bad example. People think, oh, the Hare Krishnas are getting divorced just like everybody else. They're not special. And then also it's just a great service to the devotees who are raising or building their family, for the children to feel secure, to feel protected, to be happy in Krishna consciousness, because they can also become frustrated, the children, with Krishna consciousness, if the parents are divorced and so on, and they say, well, you're devotees, but it doesn't seem to help much because this is a big mess, big snafu, as they say. And so these devotees are actually very renounced, and they're like sannyasis, you could say, in that sense, because they're transcendental. They're serving Krishna the whole time. And how is this possible? With so much entanglement in the Grihastha ashram, how is it possible to find that balance um, and achieve that? You could say, how is it possible in the material world to be Krishna conscious, to make spiritual advancement? There's so much distractions, and when I think back, actually, like some time back when I was a brahmachari in the ashram for 8 years, I was like a celibate monk. I thought, how is this possible? From my background, a celibate monk for 8 years. But this the power of the Hare Krishna movement and the power of the mantra, the power of association with Krishna, the power of association with devotees, that we get into a transcendental sort of state. And but in order to do that, in order to focus, we have to give. Well, Prabhupada says in the purport, the sannyasi has to Shri Shri Vijay Gauranga Dharanita Ki Jai. In Kali Yuga, there shouldn't be any sannyasis, but only if you follow the regulative principles very seriously. Very achieve serious following of the regulative principles. Yeah, very serious. So how is it possible? In general, and especially as Grihastha, what's the process? So we said in the Vedic Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the association, there's also a process. So what's the process? The very scientific process that has to be followed step by step. So in Srila Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, the first thing he talks about is controlling the tongue. Vacho Vegam and also Jiva Vegam. So Vacho Vegam, controlling your speech, controlling the urge to speak, and Jiva Vegam, controlling the urge of the tongue. In part of the urge of the tongue is speaking, the other urge of the tongue is tasting. So first of all, control what we say. That involves what mantras we chant. There's various types of mantras we can chant. Like example of a material mantra. I don't know. There's so many weird. My son has some, But for example, let me imagine like a 14-year-old. What do they want to do? They want to play games. They want to play on the Xbox, for example. So like that's a mantra. I want to go and play, or whatever it is. So what we say, even what we say to ourselves, our self-conversation actually. I'm not good enough, or I'm so this, I'm so that. We have all these negative thoughts that we have about ourselves actually from time to time as well. So these are different mantras we tell ourselves. So anyway, mantra. So chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. What's another way that we have to control our speech? The way we speak about devotees. This is the mad elephant offense to the holy name. The mad elephant offense is offending devotees. So we talk about controlling the tongue, controlling the urge to speak. We should glorify the devotees, find something good about the devotees. And if we can notice something bad about a devotee, some fault or something that we're not happy with, just don't say anything. Just don't. You can think it. You can think it, but don't say it. Yeah. You may have a safe space where you can discuss with someone, but there's a misconception about that where two devotees get together. One of the Goswamis was mentioning this. Raghunath Das Goswami, I think. Devotees get together and they discuss about a third devotee. about how he has bad qualities. We did something wrong. And then in their mind, they're thinking, we have to discuss this because it's for the benefit of that devotee. We might be able to, we have to clarify our thought. We have to get to the bottom of what the actual fault is. And then we might be able to help him with that fault. Yeah. So this is explained like taking bath in the urine of a donkey. It's liquid. Yes, it's liquid. It might seem like it's beneficial to you to discuss those faults, but it's not beneficial. Yeah, it's not beneficial. It's contaminating. It's polluting. So this part of Vajravegam, part of controlling what we speak. And then obviously taking prasadam. We taste only Krishna prasadam. After Jiva Vegam, or after Vajravegam comes Manasa Krodha Vegam, controlling the mind and controlling anger. Only after. First, control the tongue, what you speak, what you taste. Then you can control the mind. Even before controlling the mind. It's quite interesting. Yeah. So Krodha Vegam, controlling the urge of anger. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2.6, how anger comes about. How does anger come about? By contemplating the objects of the senses. Yeah. So first control the mind, don't contemplate objects of the senses, then you can control anger. Naturally it happens like that. And it's quite interesting because if you have a material desire, you want to enjoy something, an object of the senses, taste something nice, touch something nice, smell something nice, hear something nice, different senses, right? So the objects of the senses. Contemplating them, you want this, you want to enjoy it. So by contemplating these things, well, how does anger arise? Because these things don't give us satisfaction, obviously, right? We are the soul, having a material experience in this body, like passengers in the car, and we're taking care of the car, not taking care of ourselves. Or we have a bird in a cage, we're not feeding the bird, we're polishing the cage. So it's frustrating, ultimately, to contemplate the objects of the senses. Because you think, oh, if I want this and I want to enjoy this, when I get it, why do I get angry when I get it? I should be satisfied. But it's because of this principle that we're not the body, so it becomes frustrating. So we get angry. Very interesting. So don't contemplate the objects of the senses. Easier said than done, right? How long do we usually do the class? 9. I've got plenty of time. I don't have much more to say. Then the last point, we were saying about false spiritualism. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that we are doomed if we listen to the Sariraka Bhasya of Sankaracharya. Why are we doomed if we listen to this? Anybody know? Sariraka Bhasya?
Maybe perhaps because it promotes impersonalism and also it makes us automatically program our mind that we are the controller.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's really difficult to come out of that. And that's exactly why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended us not to.
Yeah.
If we do, then it will be really difficult to really come back to the state of even like purifying ourselves and becoming devoted.
Yeah, thank you. That's true. It's very, it's impersonalism and it's Mayavadi. The Sariraka Bhasya is a Mayavadi philosophy. And you could say there's a slight distinction between impersonalism and Mayavadi. Impersonalism means you're interested in the impersonal aspect of Krishna. He has an impersonal aspect. He has energy emanating from him, and this is Krishna's energy, just like the sunlight in the sun. It's Achincha Beda Beda Tattva. It's the same as Krishna, but it's also different from Krishna. So these impersonalists, they want to focus on that, and they want to just be peaceful in that energy without having a personal relationship. But the Mayavadis are also impersonalists, but they're offensive to Krishna. They want to argue Krishna out of existence. And a personalist, he might be brought up in a certain way. He might have learned certain things. You might approach him. You might tell him about, yes, Krishna has 3 different aspects: his energy, his localized aspect as a Paramatma, and the Bhagavan aspect. And the person might be, oh, that's interesting. and he thinks about it, and he might even become a devotee. But in Mayavadi, he has heard all of these things, but he's trying to argue Krishna out of existence. He's offensive to Krishna, and that's the contaminating aspect. We hear Shariraka Bhasya. It's so clever. It's so like intricate. It's disguised as spirituality, but it's actually not spirituality. Whereas in personalism, you could say it's an aspect of spirituality. Mayavadi is not. It's offensive to Krishna. They're the biggest offenders, Srila Chaitanya said. So because of this, it's very contaminating. And because it's so cleverly and academically presented, it's actually very entangling. And if you try to actually like understand it, you might be convinced by the argument, unless you're very, very strong in your resolve and in your philosophical understanding. So we should steer clear of that. And as we said, Lord Chaitanya wasn't instructed to study Vedanta philosophy in that way, as it was accustomed. As a sannyas, he was asked to just chant Hare Krishna. So we chant Hare Krishna and associate with Krishna because he's not different from his name. And of course, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami, very much emphasized studying books. But there's a big difference between what was done by the sannyasis in those days and what Srila Prabhupada is encouraging us to do. Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya want us to study the scriptures in order to associate with Krishna, in order to learn about Krishna. There's a vast difference. So we should do this to the best of our ability and strengthen our intelligence. As soon as you read, you're not only associating with Krishna through the description of the pastimes, but you're also associating with Srila Prabhupada's personal ecstasies in the purports. How special is that? Associating with Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's personal ecstasies in the purports that he's presented. And this is really why people are becoming devotees when they read Srila Prabhupada's books. How many of us became devotees through getting a book and reading Srila Prabhupada's books? You see? It's because of Srila Prabhupada's personal ecstasies. Srila Prabhupada is present in the pages of his books. So he is still preaching, he's still making devotees. He's the only one making devotees. And we're just helping him by distributing the books. You're distributing a lot of books. John. and you're distributing so many books. So you're helping Srila Prabhupada personally to reach out to people. And they become devotees from that because they're associating with Srila Prabhupada. It's beautiful. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami said that preaching means to remove the obstacles that someone has to coming to Krishna consciousness. It's so beautiful. So, what better way than to give Srila Prabhupada's personal association to people? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comments or questions? Did you ask comments, make comments, ask questions? Chimataji was first. No, you first.
Thank you very much for the lecture. It's very important. I was living in Europe for 1 year in Europe. Preaching at that time was a little bit another mood, but like now more it's the mood of this lecture is now like it's very close to me.
Oh, Jai.
Можно более практично. You said in the letter that we have to engage our senses, everything that we use in Krishna consciousness. Could you maybe elaborate how to do it more practically, more like detail?
So the first thing we have to do is you engage the tongue by chanting Krishna's name. And from that connection with Krishna, by hearing the mantra, we become purified, and then naturally we develop more the desire to serve Krishna. And then we can, Srila Prabhupada said, the best way to control the mind is to think about how to spread Krishna consciousness. So there's so many different ways that we can engage in that service, and in that way we use our senses and our resources in Krishna's service. So that's a practical way. And then as householders, there's obviously creating your temple at home, creating an environment where Krishna is more and more in the center of our lives. So then, just the act of offering your food engages so many things in Krishna's service. So many resources, so many of our senses also. So yeah, just doing practical service for Krishna. Is that okay? Хорошо. Okay. Okay. Anyone else comment? Question? Yes, Prabhu, yes.
So thank you for your question. It's a really interesting and important topic. Yeah, about the question is that most of us have this feeling, at least in the beginning of devotional service, or even like normal. Most of us think that we are the center of our lives, like our whatever we have so many desires in our life and all of this. Right? But let's say in the beginning, when you're becoming a devotee, it's still a bit difficult to really get rid of this feeling, right? Like that's where I was like, the human tendencies to think about ourselves, etc. So how do we develop this aspect of like putting ourselves not in the center, like to really remove this ego, this ego of this inner ego that we think that we are this controller, but we are not, and Krishna is. So what's the best way to really go about this? Because we might say that oh, I'm like devotee, but inside we must be always like no, like it's probably because I'm like this, like that.
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. It's true. It's true. It's very deeply ingrained. It's very deeply ingrained to think about ourselves, because we're eternal as eternal souls, and we've been in this material world since time immemorial. 8,400,000 species of life. I don't know how many times. Many times. And in each life that we've been in, each body that we've been in, that's been the underlying principle. Think about yourself. Take care of yourself. Whatever species you're in, that's basically the principle. So it's very deeply ingrained. So we need an external source of inspiration, of guidance and direction. And that's why the spiritual master comes in. So we need to connect deeply with, and in a personal way, for an instruction from the spiritual master. There's the general instructions, and we can connect with those. Many of Prabhupada disciples didn't get a lot of personal direction and that type of thing, but they knew we should spread Krishna consciousness. Some of the devotees are fortunate to have personal association with the spiritual master, and they might get more personal direction. But we know we have the instructions of the spiritual master that are there, and so we should feel. So in one sense, it boils down to the quality of your japa. I always think about it in this way: the better you chant your japa, the more you try to follow that instruction nicely and listen to the mantra, the more you feel benefit, because it's the only thing we do every day, right? Yeah.
The better we change up,
The more we benefit, we feel benefited. We feel like you can manifest in pleasure. You get pleasure, but the point is that we feel like benefit from that. So the more we feel the benefit, the more we feel indebted that I should give something back. I have received so much joy from this. I'm feeling so much benefit, and I should give this to other people, or you feel more indebted. You feel like you want to give something back. And when you have that feeling, when you have that desire, then you will turn to the instruction of the spiritual master and say, what should I do? Ah, here's the instruction. So that can give you the guidance that you need to go out of yourself in your mind and think, oh, I want this, I want that, I want whatever. The devotees do service despite the discomfort, despite the inconvenience. We don't want discomfort. We don't want inconvenience. That's one of the things that, thinking about ourselves. I'm feeling discomfort. I'm feeling inconvenience. I don't want this. But the sincere devotee does the service despite that, for the pleasure of the spiritual master. This is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. You're not doing service for your own, because you feel inspired to do it. That's Raganuga Bhakti. You're just inspired to serve Krishna. So Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti means you're doing it because of the instruction of the spiritual master. You need the instruction, otherwise you wouldn't do it. You might do something, but it would just dwindle. It would get less and less and less. Ignorance, the main quality in this world is ignorance. Ignorance would just take over a little bit more. You start justifying, or at least I'm doing one round a day. I'm doing one whole round, you know. You start thinking like, oh, this is very good. But because we have the instruction of the spiritual master, the standard is 16, not less. Even though sometimes we don't have the time, we don't feel inconvenienced or whatever it is, just stick to that. So that's what I mean by the external guidance, the external instruction. Marriage also helps.
Like what?
Helps.
Helps.
Yeah. As a brahmachari, as from my experience, it's you and your Krishna consciousness, and the spiritual master is there. I was serving my guru as his assistant, so I had that as well. So that was interesting. That was different. But generally, the brahmachari is just by himself and his Krishna consciousness. But when you get married, I'm not saying that you have to get married if you're a brahmachari. You can also, if you connect with the spiritual master's instructions enough, then you can have the same effect. But if you're married, you have more input and there's more character development. It's purifying. It can be purifying, right? Yes. And so it helps to become more selfless, to think about someone else. You have to think about this person. The wife will tell you, I want this now. I want, then you have to adjust, like, okay, but I want to do it this way. And then now let me think about it. Even if it's just one other person you have to think about. When you're married, that's what happens. You have to think about one other person. And when you have children, you think about another person. So you start doing things outside of yourself. So that can help. But in principle, it's the instruction of the spiritual master. Yes. Yeah.
Like when we mentioned Krishna, Krishna is never alone. He's always with Jesus. So in the same way, the spiritual master and that Srila Prabhupada had disciples, in a temple situation, in shelter of the that becomes management, or sometimes you may not connect with the temple. Your intent is sincere. Krishna will inspire that thing energy. Guidance is always there. You have to see. Sometimes you don't connect. Not everyone says this which master. But you see devotees, senior devotees. Some you will connect with, some you won't connect with.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a very good point. Yeah, if you don't have, maybe a bhakta, so on, you haven't chosen a spiritual master, is the overall Prabhupada's instructions, but the personal guidance is always there in the community of the devotees. You might have a mentor, or you might have even just the temple president as official representative. Was it Prabhupada? I think Prabhupada said that if the temple president asks you to do a service, Nila Madhava will like this. He's not here now. If the temple president asks you to do a service, you should understand that Krishna is asking you to do that service because he's a representative, you know. So yeah, that guidance, you know. So following the instruction, yeah, that's the principle. Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments or questions?
Кришна говорит, Нитья чара самучита.
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those Nityachara, those who imitate the devotees,
Нитья чара. Качество чисто.
devotees should cultivate this quality of sincerity, honesty,
Mhm.
to be very sincere towards Krishna.
Искренне соглашаться с тем, что мы чего-то еще
And sincerely accept the fact that there are things which we are not yet able to do.
семейная жизнь, она помогает.
Family life helps us to understand.
Мы чего-то не умеем.
There are things which we are not yet qualified, not yet able to
Mm,
do.
mm.
Even if I'm not able to satisfy one woman, which kind of Krishna can I be? How can I compare myself with
Mm.
Кришна
Mm.
мог подарить свои 16.
Krishna was
Yeah.
able to satisfy 60,108 wives.
Пример. Очень хорошо помогает общению.
And it helps to have association with these honest devotees who are honest.
Особенно с духовным учителем, тем, кто искренне
Especially with their spiritual master and with those devotees who honestly and sincerely are serving. Then we will get rid of this Nitya Chara, this tendency.
Прабхупада в комментарии объясняет, что человек должен принять свое положение в обществе. Пусть даже он будет вольным, он будет честным.
And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that very important is that the devotee accept his position, whenever which position he has to accept it, even if it's very low position. It's better to accept it than to imitate an elevated yogi.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, thank you. Yes, there's a very nice prayer that you can say to Krishna in this regard. My spiritual master was saying that we should pray to Krishna to help us understand, like our position. That I'm too, my dear Lord Krishna, I am so proud, or I'm so unqualified that I don't know how unqualified I am. I don't have access to that information. Please let me understand how unqualified really I am, because I'm so unqualified I don't understand. Something to that effect, that type of prayer, like to ask Krishna for help. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Because ashram is very important lead,
Part or limb.
part of, in our movement.
Мы знаем, что в окружении Чайтаньи Махапрабху было очень много прекрасных.
And we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his association where he had very much grihasthas.
После вашей лекции у меня что-то возникло такое немножко боязнь, что все сейчас срочно побегут и будут основывать прекрасный ашрам.
But after your lecture, I feel, how to say, fear that all of us like will run now to the and create grihastha.
Я просто слышала о том, думаю, что очень полезно будет, особенно молодым людям, какое-то время пожить в начале, набраться знаний, дисциплинированности, качеств, и тогда можно основывать, потому что если отдать взаимодействие.
But it is very important for the young people some time to live in the temple in order to develop some good qualities, discipline, knowledge.
Потому что один из духовных учителей наших говорит, если отдать свои лучшие молодые годы Кришне, Кришна поможет.
One of the spiritual masters said, when we give our best years, young age to Krishna, Krishna will never forget.
По поводу кшетра саньяси. Можно ли понимать?
I have a small question regarding kshetra sannyasa. Is it allowed in Kali Yuga to kshetra sannyasa?
I must say I don't actually know if that specific sannyas is something that's recommended. I know that the duty of a sannyas is to travel and preach, and so I would have to check on that answer. I'm not sure. From the example of the sannyasis that we have in ISKCON, it's not something common, unless it's because of health reasons, that the sannyasi will stay more in one place because of health. But I don't think any of the sannyasis officially kind of took that type of sannyas. So there's a difference in that way. But I could check if I can try and find out if it's allowed to do that, to officially take that sannyas instead of the Parivajikacharya sannyas, traveling sannyas. Okay. Yeah, thank you for your comment. I think it's a very important point, and that we don't rush into marriage. I think marriage is something for, you grow into the whole experience, but some maturity is required. Some maturity is required to not have, just rampant divorce all the time. If the devotees that are getting married are more mature and not very young and immature. Young people can also be mature, but the point is, it's not an easy thing necessarily. So I agree with you, 100%, that some time should be spent in the temple for sure. It's very beneficial. There's no loss. There cannot be a loss to living in the temple for 5-10 years. Yeah, there's enough time. Yes, Mataji. 2 more, then we go. One from you, and then.
I don't know if I could start with my next shot.
Yeah, sure.
So, thank you very much. There was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, Thomas Lokanath, the time he was Prabhu, he was giving the seminar. And I remember the time that there was a Mataji and much friction was there. We have friction. He gave us such a clear form when it was some lines. I don't remember every again, but the idea was that she or he just like me. Essence of his is clear. Yes. And I know that absolutely, but I'm thinking of it. What was learned Prabhupada said in one sect, so there months were
Mm.
Shara to
Yes, yes. Mm. Thank you, Mr. Yeah, the association of devotees is very, very beneficial. Even if we don't like some of them, we will learn to appreciate and respect them. Because we have to try and see the devotees as Krishna would see them. Because the devotees are very dear to Krishna. This person, we might see their nature, the way they are in their material sense, and it doesn't connect with our material nature. Just butting heads the whole time. But Krishna doesn't see that. He just sees this person is chanting my name. Even if we say Barack Obama, Krishna can notice. Someone is not a devotee, says Barack Obama, Krishna says, oh, he said Rama. He said Rama. Bara. There's nothing. Then he said Ra, and then later, Ma. So Krishna is so appreciative. He appreciates what to speak of devotees in our community that are serving all the time. You have to try and see like that. This person is dear to Krishna. I can respect that. I can appreciate in that way. Yeah. Thank you. So one more comment or question. You had something, and then we finish.
One question arises in my head when the young devotees, brahmacharis, who want to join to live in the temple, how important it is to finish their education, or they have to go first to the temple and have the spiritual experience, and then later decide if they want to, or it's better, more beneficial for them to finish their education and then to decide to go this way.
Okay, yeah, good question. Well, I think in principle we can say that it's better to finish the education. And this was what people advised me when I was joining the temple, saying, no, you should finish, you should finish. I didn't want to, and I didn't. I just couldn't focus on it anymore. I just joined the temple. And by Krishna's mercy, it also worked out for me. I didn't finish my education. Then when I wanted to change ashram, then I tried to go back to the university, but I missed it. I had 6 years. Within the 6 years, I could carry on and finish. But I spent 8 years.
Started, but you don't finish.
I didn't finish. And then, so I missed the timeline. I couldn't finish my studies. And then by the grace of Krishna, I got a job and things worked out. So it's not impossible. If you are like me and you just can't be in that association anymore and study and think about those things, you can join the temple. From my experience, it can work out by the grace of God. But in principle, it's better to finish the studies first, because it's safe. Because statistically, most brahmacharis end up getting married. So we might as well prepare for that. I couldn't prepare for that. I was just like, I don't care what happens later. I just need to join the temple now. And somehow it worked out. Yeah, but yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.